So, if my goal was to play for Arsenal and, I ended up playing for Plymouth Argyle in the lowest division of professional football, that is not a fail.
Hello, guys. Welcome to World Cup Habits. Once again, I'm here with my good friend, fantastic human being, and smart, intelligent, handsome, and a good human being, David. How are you?
I'm good, Pepe. I feel better now. No, I'm very good. I'm pumped for today's podcast.
Yes.
Because I think that what we're going to talk about today is so important on different levels. And, we'll go into that, but I'm talking about positioning and everything else, as well as what you're going to talk about.
Yes.
So I'll let you kick it off, and then I'll interrupt you consistently throughout this podcast.
Please do.
Okay.
This podcast, if we wanted, it could last 3 to 4 hours. It would be
easy.
Joe Rogan style without a problem. So we'll be as direct as possible, but the topic is this mindset will kill your pro career. And this comes from an experience with a good friend of mine who was my coach as well during college, and we were talking about one of his sons that wants to be a professional soccer player, which is great, and many of us have wanted to achieve that. But we were discussing about the challenges, and I think that this is very important because when you're in that path and you want to reach and you want to become a professional soccer player, usually the thought is, well, I want to be a pro player, but I only want to play in Europe. Okay. And then once you say, okay, in Europe, any team? Well, no, not any team. I would prefer, in England, Germany, Holland, Spain, Italy. Okay, so any team there? Well, no, not really. I would like to play just only for the big clubs. So eventually this mindset, which I understand where it's coming from, but I would say that 95% of the players really, really don't pick exactly where they're going to play during their professional careers. And this mindset, if you have this mindset that of exclusivity, it's going to really affect you because it's only 1 or 2%, tops 5%, that really have this chance to pick exactly where they want to play, the coach, their position. I mean, there's so many different things that if you don't develop this skill of being adaptable to the pro sport, you're going to be entirely miserable, right?
100%. And I would even go as far to say this transfers to positionally as well. Because, I have so many players who no, I play forward.
Yeah.
And then they get to college and the college coach doesn't need a forward. And he's always in the back of their go, because forwards always get converted to backs, right? And sometimes backs can get converted to forwards. And then it's, well, I don't know how to play there, right? So it's learning to be fluid. And in the States, it's about college as well as professional. It's like, no, I want to play for Stanford.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, and I might have the numbers wrong here, but let's say there's a 30-player roster on Stanford. Yeah, that's where I'm going to play. What are your other options? Just Stanford. And you're like, well, have you spoken to them? No, not yet. Okay. So, you're pigeonholing yourself in such a tight little space that the pressures that you're going to put on yourself, you're not going to do it.
Yes.
Like fact, right? Like and if you have done it, well done, you've proven me wrong. But it to me, it's about having those goals, right? But understanding that those goals are very, very fluid.
Yes.
So, if my goal was to play for Arsenal and, I ended up playing for Plymouth Argyle in the lowest division of professional football. That is not a fail.
Yeah.
I'm still playing professional football, even if it's amateur football.
Yes.
So,
but I think here what's important is to differentiate between the things that you control and the things you can't control. And what many young players fall into the trap is that they think that they control everything, and obviously they don't. So it's good to have a goal. It's good to have a vision, obviously, that's pulling you towards, hey, this would be the ideal scenario. But if your goal is to be a professional soccer player, you have to be fluid, as you said, adaptable, and understand that this is a profession. It's your profession. And that, let's say you're playing with a club and it's great. They sack the coach, and the coach that comes in plays a style that you don't enjoy. What are you going to do? Just say, oh, no, I don't enjoy this game. No, you have to adapt, because if that's the mentality that you're going to have, I can assure you your career is going to be very short.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to be fluid enough to realize that if that was your journey,
yes,
right, I'm going to play for Arsenal, and everything aligned, and I played for us, that'd be a really boring journey.
Yes.
Right. And you look at players like Jack Wilshere in England, who came through the Arsenal youth system, who was the next big thing. And, injuries prevented Jack from potentializing. And, then he had to go to West Ham, and now he's without a club and he's thinking of signing over here. But I'm sure if you asked, 10-year-old Jack Wilshere, who are you going to play? Arsenal.
Yes.
Right. But as your career progresses, you understand that it's not your choice most of the time, and let me ask you this, Pepe. If your goal was to play, in England, right, let's just say the Premier League's the best league in the world. I'm not here to argue it. I'm just using it as an example. Yes. And you're playing at one of the top teams in the world. Say you're playing at Manchester City, and been there for a few years, you've won everything. And whatever a club at a lesser league comes along and offers you 10 times your salary, yes, are you going to turn around and say, no, because I always said I'm never going to play in Italy?
Yes,
you're going to be fluid, aren't you? You're going to be fluid. I would be fluid in a heartbeat.
Because I think that there's this big romantic idea that you watch a movie and it's a romantic idea. There's a very big difference between reality and the romanticism of an idea. And there might be a honeymoon period in your career, but eventually there will be a point where this fades away and you wake up and you realize that this is a job that you enjoy, that yes, you like it, but there are going to be many, many moments where it's going to be challenging. And that's where mindset comes in, because instead of you saying, oh, I can't believe this is happening, is you're waking up and you're starting to see the reality of the context of being a professional player. And here, and that's the thing. I mean, if they call you to play for this team and not the team that you wanted, are you going to say, no, I'm not going to go?
No.
I mean, that's you have an opportunity there. Yeah, and even if you're playing there and they say, well, we have 2 players in your position, but this position isn't taken, we think you could play in that position. You're going to say, no. And the other thing is that you have to build your career and be very, very, very honest, cold honest as to where you stand today and focus on the next step. Because, you could be thinking Real Madrid, Manchester United, Man City, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. But if you're playing 10th division, academy or whatever it is, and you're not even starting, your mind should be focused on the next step, which is becoming a starter. That's where it should be going. And then making sure that the team that you're playing at is in a way aligned towards where you want to go. Because if the team isn't really aligned in a professional matter, or it's giving you those pillars, then obviously that's also going to affect you.
Pepe, it's funny because Arsenal lost to Aston Villa 3-0 last weekend. And I'm brain farting. I can't remember the name of the guy. He scored a great goal. And they interviewed him afterward, and they're like, "Oh, you grew up an Arsenal fan and you scored against them. How does that feel?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm still an Arsenal fan." Right. And it just made me laugh because we're talking about that. Like, if you grew up an Arsenal fan, you want to play for Arsenal. But this guy's career hasn't gone that way. And then he's scoring against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Fluid mentality, right?
Exactly. And if he had this romantic idea of, no, you should never do that.
Yeah.
Because it's a romantic idea and it's great for the media. The media loves chewing on this, and they'll ingrain, or the hardcore fans, oh, you should always play for one team. That's a romantic idea.
Well, it doesn't happen anymore, does it? Like, your Ryan Giggses, your Tony Adams.
Yes.
To an extent, like Jamie Vardy's. The football's such a world game now that, if you do that, they're phenomenal.
Yes.
Right. Or you might be scared of, going somewhere else, like Messi. I'm not saying he's scared of going somewhere else, but I'd love to see him somewhere else. Like, and you're right, it's such a romantic idea of they were, they came through the club, they stayed there all the time.
It's about the sport. It's about, I'm not, please don't get me wrong. I don't want to be a jerk about this or burst the bubble in a way of the passion of the sport. But I've worked in many, many aspects of the sport, and I played professionally, never at the highest level. And I'm fine with that. I accepted that. But I've seen so many different things that you recognize it's a profession. It's, if you want to play with passion always and passionate games and everything, play Sunday League. That's where, and then you'll all have a beer afterwards and you'll hug but or you won't. You might not do that. But then if you're playing at a professional level, you understand it's a profession, and they're paying you to do your job. They're paying you in a way to entertain people, because that's why people watch it, and you start seeing it in a different way. And this romantic idea, I wouldn't say it completely fades, because it's important to have some sort of emotion towards it, but you can see it differently, and you can make, in my opinion, and take wiser decisions for your career, because in the end, this is going to feed you, feed your family. So there are important decisions that you have to make. Yeah.
And, fans don't like it either unless that big player's joining their club.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. You look at like Alexis Sanchez, like when Sanchez left Arsenal, everyone's like, you're like, well, he didn't come through the club, guys. Like,
yes.
He's got that fluidity about him where he's like, no, like, I want to go and try and win something there. I want to get more money there. Because, footballers also get like absolutely detested for chasing money. Yet the same people detested them. If their boss walked in and be like, listen, we're going to double your wages, but you got to move 2 miles down the street to that branch. And they go, like, no, loyal to this branch. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, of course they would.
Never. That would never happen.
Like, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Because these footballers get such a bad rep. Make your money, or go out and make it.
We started this new branch, or we started this new company, and since you have all this experience, we want to hire you so you can help us build this company. They'll be like, oh yeah, that's great. They're using my experience. They're paying me more. Well, that happens with other leagues. That's
exactly the same thing. Yeah. It's like, you flipping burgers in McDonald's and they turn up like, hey, listen, a branch down the street needs an assistant manager. No, I'm loyal. Staying here. But it's double the money. I'm staying here. And I always say to footballers I work with, like, make as much money as you can. It's a short career. Make that money. Yeah, don't worry about what people think. Stay fluid. If you can like be like Ronaldo, like real Ronaldo, play for Barca, Real, Inter, and AC, you do that.
Yeah. Now,
you do that.
This is something very important that I would say, and let's jump into that because I think it's important. I don't have the correct stats, obviously, but I would say about 60 to 70% of professional players are not filthy rich.
No.
They're just barely making it. They might have some savings. 60 to 70%.
All we see is Pepe's a Premier League.
More. if not more.
Yeah. But all we see really, and I'm guilty of it because I follow the top leagues. The top league, even the top leagues.
Yes.
They're not all rolling in it.
Not
now,
all.
The top players, yeah.
Exactly. But the top teams, but not even only the top players, because if you're just starting, or depending on what level you are, you're not making the big money. So maybe it's even more than 70%, because I know many players, and you know them as well. They reach out to me, help me find a team. I know how much they make. I know what's their situation. There are many players that they're just living paycheck to paycheck or season to season. And they've done well, but it's not, and that's where you have to be flexible. A lot of players are like, well, I'll play with whomever wants to hire me at this point. I need a job. So the romanticism disappears and you see it differently. So that's why I think that if you're listening to this and you're a young player, I would say wake up to that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have these big aspirations, by no means, because I applaud those and they're important, but it's also important that you open your eyes, and nobody teaches you this. And that's why we do this podcast, to see how it really is. And it's a very challenging industry that if you're fixed with one idea, one position, one team, one country, that's going to limit your opportunities tremendously. But it also, I would say, you're not open to the opportunities that the game has for you, because you might say, oh, I just wanted to play for this, but you never know that maybe the place that you can really shine is knocking on your door, and you're just saying no because you're just fixed with this idea, and you say no to something that could have been fantastic. How many good things have happened to you in the sport and in your life that you weren't expecting, and then suddenly it just came to you and you were ready, like you took it and it was much better than what you thought?
So many, like every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
As soon as I exit my comfort zone, good things happen.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah. It's just, so think about that. How many things that have happened to you, really you did everything, you orchestrated everything? No, there's so many variables that you don't control, and things that you don't know of that could come your way, and they could be the best thing for you, and it changes your perspective. I always used to say, oh, playing soccer in the US, that's Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we get that in the UK as well. It's like MLS retirement league.
Yes. And then once I played college, I was like, oh, who knows how this is going to be? And I was like, whoa, that was a great experience. I loved it. I could have never expected that. And then working in the industry, the same thing. Many things I wasn't expecting, or I couldn't see. And then once they happened, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, this podcast is like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, but look at this podcast, right? Like, we agreed to do it, and it's just like good things are happening.
Yes.
I've not done a podcast before. I've never thought of doing one.
10 years ago, you would have said, what?
Nah. Pepe, if you told me, like, honestly, when I left England, that you're going to become known for being a technical trainer for some of the best women's players in the world, I'd be like, nah. But I'm fluid with it. I love what I do. And, because of my outlook like that, I've managed to kind of jump into this industry without actually having contacts or knowing anybody who can get me a foot in.
Yes.
I've almost created my own niche because of my ability to have that fluid mentality. Because if I had to be like, no, I'm just going to coach teams, that's what I want to do. That's what I came here to do. I came here to get in with a professional club and coach.
Yeah.
If I kept to that, where would I be? I'd probably be back in England right now. working in an office somewhere because I didn't have contacts there either.
Exactly. And there's so many variables. I mean, as I said, you could be playing for a team for X or Y reason. They change a coach, and then they decide to send you to another team. You can't do much about that. How many players are really asked if they want to go to another team, if they go on loan or if they're being sold? I mean, most players have no saying in that.
No
saying.
It's like you're out tomorrow. You're going on loan.
So the most important thing that you can do is to make sure that you are developing in the best player that you can be, because that's what you can control. And then, yes, have this vision, this goal, but then the rest, you have to be open, like the game. The game is interesting because you're open. You never know what's going to happen. You have a plan, but then not because the coach says, well, you always have to go to the left. And then there's one point where you see the opportunity going towards the right and you know that can be a goal. You're not going to do that. I mean, that's the game. That it's fluid. And that's where incredible things happen. So I think that's very, very important that players understand that, because if having this closed mindset of it has to be my way or the highway or this is the only way, then that it will kill your professional career. Or you might have some success, but eventually it's going to affect you a lot, because we've seen it. It's not, we're not coming up with this. We've seen it every year.
It's happening. It's probably happening today.
Yes.
So you guys all basically, so what we're saying is be very flexible, very fluid, and understand that your journey is not a straight shot. It's going to have bends, it's going to have ups, it's going to have downs, and you've got to learn to roll with it and make the best out of everything. Exactly.
And well, I think we've covered the idea that we wanted to cover.
Yeah.
But we could spend hours just talking about this. Hours. But I'd say the main thing is that the being open, the being fluid, and focusing on what you can control, which is one could say is minimum, but most players are focusing on the things that they can't control, and that really affects their game and their decisions.
And like we've said time and time again, like all of this stuff with the mental side of the game is changeable. Talking of fluidity, if our listeners need help, go to worldcuphabits.com, which is going to take you to the Syracuse FC page, and download the free mental training program.
Yes.
And start working on it today, because it's one of these things that we're swamped with information every day.
Yes.
95% of which is trash, but it's easy because it doesn't mean a commitment from you. So like your TikTok, your Instagram, like you're not committing to anything when you're spending hours on that. But if you download something and you commit to it, then that means you actually want to do it. So it's a simple program. It's free. Download it and start taking control of your mental game today.
I agree. Just to finalize, I wanted to say something, David. And I think you and I have fell into this trap when we were playing. And is that enjoy the process. Enjoy the process, because yes, there are all these hurdles, that it's challenging. But if you forget to enjoy the process, and enjoying doesn't mean that you'll always be smiling. Enjoying sometimes is crying, but you're like, it's because it hurts. I care. But enjoying and recognizing that the trophy is the way, the path. The every single day is a great opportunity to become better than the day before, better than when you woke up, and that's going to help you a lot in your career. Enjoying the path.
100%. You have to enjoy it, Pepe. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I'm enjoying it. We're not laughing. but we're enjoying it. We're in it.
Yeah.
We don't know what the effect of it is going to be. Some will like it, some won't like it, but we're doing the best that we can, and we're enjoying it as well.
Yeah. There's a fly flying around my computer. It's annoying me.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right. If he gets away, he deserves it.
Very good, David. Well, that was good.
Pepe, that was awesome.
Yes.
I will see you at the same time next week.
Yes.
Don't forget to download that free program.
Yes.
If you've got any comments on stuff that you'd like us to cover,
questions,
let us know. Questions, preguntas,
yes.
Let us know, and we will do our best to get that covered.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Right, brilliant. Cheers, Pepe.
Cheers.
See you later.
Oh, you're still there? Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope it helped you. And if it did, please like and subscribe to the channel. And also, if you have any comments, please write them down below. We would love to interact with you, to answer your questions so you can become a better soccer player.